What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 3 best Huntress builds in POE of Exile's 2 new update, The Rise of the Abyssal. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of each setup, then I will explain what skill gems and upgrades should you focus on, then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it. And then finally, we will go over the passive skill tree, stats, your skill rotations, and even what charm should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. And remember, if you want to try any of these builds out, then check my links in the description. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM. They are a pro website that provides POE2 services like cheap currency, then even to trade all types of quality items and gems and much more. They have also more than 20,000 positive comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KATE for extra 6% off. This setup is a fresh and powerful combination of the new Huntress Ascendancy and the Bleed Spear skills. This will revolve around fast-paced, agile combat with a focus on applying and stacking powerful bleed effects through ranged spears or the javelin attacks. You will use the spear chow or the whirling blade to apply bleeds, to then kite or reposition while the enemy takes damage over time. This playstyle will emphasize a hit and run tactic, exploiting movement speed, bleed stacking, and trap style positioning for one-shotting bosses or super fast clear speed. So let me show you the build, and for the main class we are going with the Huntress and our ascendancy is Amazon. Then for the first skill we have Rake with the stomping ground, deep cuts and blindside. Then second we got the disengage with the martial tempo, Candace and ingenuity. Then next we got blood hunt with the bloodlust, bullseye, heavy swing, heft and close combat. Next we have herald of blood with brutality, precision and vitality. Then for the next one we have the bloodhound's mark with overpower, inspiration and the concentrated effect. Next we got wind dancer with the culling strike, blind and maim. Then next we got the tame beast with loyalty, minion mastery and muster. And finally we're using explosive spear with overabundance, expedite, retreat and primal armament. Most of the setup is structured around spamming rake to delete enemies in split seconds, so we use gems and skills that will support and increase their duration, size and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you are interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at this attack damage node and then keep going while taking these 3. So Primal Instinct, Eagle Eye and Disorientation. Then next we keep on going until this point and then take this bottom left side, and then keep going until we get these 2, so careful aim and blur. Then next up we keep on going until this point and then take these 3, so Crimson Assault, perfectly balanced knife and versatile arms. Then after this we go until the end and then go up top till we get this whole thing. And then when that is done, now we circle back a little and now get everything until these 2, so the Doomsayer and the Bleeding Out. And then finally from here we can pretty much go where we started from and then get all of these nodes in this top right side, and the order in which you get them doesn't really matter, so it's more of a personal preference. All of these nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they are the most important ones to acquire early on in the game, to make our build functional, and then later on, the priority won't really matter that much. Also, as far as attributes go, you just simply want to fulfill your attribute requirements for gear and gems, and then after that spend the rest in strength. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for Ascendancy build, this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the critical strike. This one focuses on enhancing the power and efficiency of your critical hits. You will gain significant bonuses to critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier, which will allow you to deal massive damage with the right setup. The node often provides an increased global critical strike chance, making your hits more likely to land a critical, which is a key for scaling damage in a high-end content. Then second we want Penetrate. Whether it's elemental resistances, armor, evasion or energy shields, this gives us a massive damage boost. Penetrate is just not about damage, it's also about ensuring that your damage always lands, so this ascendancy will thrive on debuffing, piercing and breaking defenses, which makes it ideal for dealing constant high value hits in both fast-paced clearing and long boss fights. Then next we want Predatory Instincts, which is designed to enhance agility, offensive power and damage scaling through increased critical strike chance, attack speed and evasion. You'll gain increased critical strike chance against enemies that are on low life, which makes you highly efficient at finishing off weak enemies. And on top of this, the added attack speed will boost your offensive capability, allowing you to apply damage faster and stack debuffs like bleed or poison at an accelerated pace. And finally, we are going in for the kill. When you choose this one, it will grant you a significant boost to critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier when your enemies are below a certain life threshold. This means that once you've already chipped away at your targets and they are low on health, then your attacks become much more lethal, so combining these two last notes will completely destroy any enemy that you come across. Next we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the Swift Spear with increased physical damage, adds to physical damage, more accuracy, increased attack speed and leech damage as life. Then also we got an offhand called the Coiled Buckler with increased block chance, evasion rating, max life, lightning resistance and reduced attribute requirements. Then for helmet we have the Cowled Helm with max life, accuracy rating, strength and fire resistance. Then for chest we have the Shrouded Vest with evasion rating, max life and chaos resistance. Then for belt we have the Long Belt with max life, cold resistance and fire resistance. Then for gloves we got the Bound Braces with the add physical damage to attacks, fire, cold and lightning resistance. Then for boots we're using the Soldiering Sabatons with armor and evasion. And for bonus stats we want increased movement speed, max life, fire and cold resistance. Then for our first ring we got the Amethyst Ring with chaos resistance, adds physical damage to attacks, max mana and strength. While for the second one we have the Topaz Ring with the lightning resistance, max life, chaos and cold resistance. And then finally for amulet we have the Jade Amulet with dexterity, spirit, then even more dexterity and fire resistance. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is the best case scenario setup, which should be more for an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. So our rotation is quite simple, but you will need to get used to it. We are going to be constantly on the move, weaving through enemies with sharp fluid motions. Every spear you will throw is not about impact, it's about the damage that follows. You don't need to stand and fight, as we can just watch them fall while we dash away. So we'll begin fights with a quick spear throw, immediately inflicting powerful bleeds that continue to drain enemies long after you've disengaged. Against tougher targets you will stack those bleeds, strafing and repositioning while they slowly tear apart. But then what about bosses? Well, they're all about timing. So keep moving, stay out of reach and just keep pressuring them as the bleed does the killing for us. Everything about this build will feed into that rhythm. Very high mobility, clean clears and a constant sense of momentum. It's not about tanking hits, it's about never being hit in the first place. So you will feel agile, tactical and lethal. And just keep spamming rake as you see your enemies die in seconds. This setup is a fresh and powerful combination of the new Huntress Ascendancy and the lightning-based spear skills. We are going to be combining very high damage to create devastating zones that electrocute and trap enemies in a single place. Right now this setup is easily one of the fastest and most efficient options for mob farming and speed leveling. And as you can see from the gameplay, enemies are getting wiped out in a matter of seconds. Even bosses will not stand a chance, thanks to our high single target damage by spamming the lightning spear in the combination with the storm lance and our key buffs. However, at some point in the later game, some lowered gear players might run into a mana problem. But lucky for us, the Huntress has many tools to address this problem, and with optimized gear we need nothing more than a single stat roll on our weapon or gear to completely solve this issue. So let me show you the build, and for the main class we are going with the Huntress and our ascendancy is Amazon. Then for the first skill we have Spear Stab with no support gems. Then second we got the Herald of Thunder with magnified effect and innervate. Then next we got Storm Lance with concentrated effect, lightning infusion and primal armament. Next we have Lightning Spear with a Scatter Shot and Rising Tempest. Then for the next one we have the Sniper's Mark with Persistence and Profusion. Then next we got Barrage with Premeditation and Arcane Tempo. Then next we got the Combat Frenzy with Precision. And finally we're using Explosive Shot with Overabundance and Fire Infusion. Most of this setup is structured around using the Lightning Spear with a Storm Lance to delete enemies in split seconds. So we use gems and skills that will support and increase their duration, size and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you're interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we first of all want to start at this projectile damage node. and then go like this while taking all of these 4, such as the Hound Instincts, Eagle Eye, Blur and the Vile Wounds. Next up we keep on moving forwards while grabbing these 2, so Sheathing Skin and the Escape Velocity. Then from here we want to go like this and then take the Harness the Elements. And then from here just keep on going like this while selecting Catalysts and the Maiming Strike. Then when we get to this endpoint, then from here we want to first of all take the whole bottom left side. And then after that is done, then just go up to the top and get all of these nodes. And in order in which you do it doesn't really matter that much. All of these nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they're the most important ones to acquire early on in the game, to make our build functional, and then later on the priority won't really matter that much. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for Ascendancy build, this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the Elemental Infusion. This will empower the Amazon to become a conduit for raw elemental forces, especially lightning, by focusing on agility, precise strikes and devastating elemental effects. Then second, we want the Critical Strike. This will transform us into a precision-based assassin, by relying on high crit chance, deadly multipliers and a rapid execution. It will be all about striking fast, striking true and making every hit potentially lethal. And unlike the brute force builds, the crit Amazon will thrive on calculated offense, so you'll be stacking crit chance, crit multipliers and attack speed to turn even basic spear skills into a very high DPS attacks. Then next we want Infused Avatar. This will combine body and energy into one seamless force. This Ascendancy is all about adaptive elemental empowerment, giving you very quick boosts called infusions, which are based on your skill usage, movement and combat rhythm. All of this will result in a fast and responsive build that constantly will shift between powerful elemental modes. And then finally for our fourth option we want Penetrate. Whether it's elemental resistances, armor, evasion or energy shields, this will give us a massive damage boost. The Penetrate Ascendancy is not just about damage, it's about ensuring that your damage always lands. So because of this we will thrive on debuffing, piercing and breaking defenses, which makes it ideal for dealing consistent, high value hits in both fast-paced and long boss fights. Next we have gear. The weapon of our choice is the Helix Spear with the accuracy rating, increased physical damage, increased attack speed and more levels of all projectile skills. Then also we got an offhand called the Lycos Side-Eye Shield, and from this we get bunch of armor, increased block chance, our accuracy is doubled and when blocking we deal extra damage to enemies. However, this unique is not required, and if you can afford it or get it, then any normal shield will work as well, just try to look for something similar. Then for helmet we have the Trapper Hood with evasion, accuracy rating, dexterity and fire resistance. Then for chest we have the Shrouded Vest with evasion, max life and chaos resistance. Then for belt we have the Long Belt with increased charm duration, max life, and cold fire and chaos resistance. Then for gloves we got the Barbed Braces with evasion, accuracy, then even more evasion, more to all elemental resistances and chaos resistance. Then for boots we're using the Lace Boots with evasion, increased movement speed, even more evasion and cold resistance. Then for our first ring we got the Emerald Ring with accuracy, dexterity and fire resistance, while for the second one we have the Topaz Ring with bunch of lightning resistance. And then finally for amulet we have the Bloodstone Amulet with max life, increased rating and increased rarity of items found. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is the best case scenario setup, which would be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. So our rotation is quite simple, but you will need to get used to it. What we want to do is first of all engage enemies by casting the Storm Lance to establish damaging zones, then follow that up with the Lightning Spear to pierce through and finish off huge amount of targets. This combination allows for very fast clearing of maps and efficient leveling. And also against bosses, the high single target damage from the Lightning Spear, enhanced by the Stormland's persistent damage, will ensure the same quick takedowns as with AoE mobs. However, as I mentioned at the start, in the later stages of the game, some players might encounter mana sustainability issue. But lucky for us, Amazon will offer a bunch of tools to address this, and with optimized gear such as items with mana leech or reduced mana cost modifiers, this issue can be effectively resolved. And thanks to our Ascendancy and passive tree scaling, our most important skill, the Lightning Spear, will become a rapid fire projectile of death. He will pierce, crit often and synergize perfectly with a shock effect to ramp up your damage in few seconds. Most of the enemies won't survive more than a second or two once you've combined both of our skills. And for trash monsters, it's all about speed. So just run, cast Storm Lance mid-stride, and toss few lightning spears to clear entire screens. The build's high mobility makes it perfect for fast mapping, and it is ideal for both league starters and experienced players that are trying to rush endgame content. This setup is a fast-paced, high-ceiling build that revolves around scaling poison damage through fast-hitting attacks and by primarily using Lightning Spear as its core damage skill. We will take full advantage of high attack speed, projectile scaling, and poison stacking to clear packs and melt bosses. Each spear will apply multiple poison stacks, and with proper setup, enemies will quickly die in a second or two. Supporting skills like the Storm Lance and Infused Weapon will allow the Huntress to reposition constantly, while avoiding incoming damage and keeping the pressure while doing insane amount of damage at the same time. And buffs like the Sniper's Mark and the Herald of Plague increases enemy vulnerability, while Orb of Storms will help with constant poison stacking and curse triggers and much more. If you are looking to simply use 2 buttons and destroy enemies in a second, then this is the build for you. So let me show you the build, and for the main class we are going with the Huntress and our ascendancy is Amazon. Then for the first skill we have Herald of the Plague with Precision. Then second we got the Sniper's Mark with Profusion, Ingenuity and Arcane Tempo. Then next we got Infused Weapon with the Blind, Elemental Focus, Magnified Effect, Culling Strike and Concentrated Effect. Next we have Lightning Spear with the Fork, Bursting Plague, Bullseye, Martial Tempo and Innervate. Then for the next one we have the Storm Lance with the Close Combat, Perpetual Charge, Primal Armament, Rising Tempest and the Blind Side. Then next we got the Orb of Storms with Font of Rage, Chain and Inevitable Critical. Then next we got the Ghost Dance with Fast Forward. Next up we have the Roja Mount with Loyalty, Meat Shield and Minion Mastery. Then also we got the Wind Dancer with the Pin. And finally we're using Despair with a Heightened Curse, Persistence and Inspiration. And don't forget to assign the Orb of Storms to only weapon set 2. Most of this setup is structured around spamming Sniper's Mark with the Lightning Spear to delete enemies in split seconds. So we use gems and skills that will support and increase their duration, size and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you are interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start this attack damage node, and then keep going while taking these two, so Primal Instincts and Eagle Eye. Then next we want to keep on going while taking these 3, so Lasting Toxins, Escape Velocity and Cooked. Then next we keep on going until the end and then get these 2 on your way, so Maiming Strike and Catalyst. Then when we get to this endpoint, then now we go down and get all of these right here. And then finally from here I recommend to get all of these right here, and then after that is done you can circle back to this middle point and then get all of these right here. However, all of the nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they're the most important ones to acquire early on in the game to make our build functional, and then later on the priority won't really matter that much. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for Ascendancy build, this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock Critical Strike. This one focuses on enhancing the power and efficiency of your critical hits. You will gain significant bonuses to Critical Strike chance and Critical Strike multiplier. This node often provides with increased global Critical Strike chance, making your hits more likely to land a critical, which is the key for scaling damage in a high-end content. Then second we want Penetrate. Whether it's elemental resistances, armor, evasion or energy shields, this will give us a massive damage boost. Penetrate is just not about damage, it's also about ensuring that your damage always lands. So this Ascendancy will thrive on debuffing, piercing and breaking defenses, which is ideal for dealing constant high value hits in both fast paced and long boss fights. Then next we want Elemental Infusion. At its core, this Ascendancy will offer bonuses that boost elemental penetration, allowing your attacks to bypass a portion of the enemy resistances. It also significantly improves the application of elemental elements, such as Shock, Ignite and Chill, which makes it ideal for builds that apply damage over time, or also benefit from the elemental debuffs. And then finally we are going with Predatory Instincts, which is designed to enhance agility, offensive power and damage scaling through increased critical strike chance, attack speed and evasion. You will gain increased critical strike chance against enemies that are on low life. And then on top of this, the added attack speed will boost your offensive capability, allowing you to apply damage faster and stack debuffs like the bleed or poison at a very fast pace. Next we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the Splinter of Lorata with physical damage, increased melee strike range, and all poisons can affect multiple targets at the same time. However, this weapon is required for our playstyle to work. Then also we got an offhand called the Lyco Seidei, but the shield is not required, so if you can't get it or afford it, then look for something similar. Then also we got the second weapon set, and for our second weapon we're using the Swift Spear with increased weapon speed, increased physical damage, more accuracy, and increased attack speed. While for our offhand we got the Coiled Buckler shield with evasion rating, max life, and lightning resistance. Then for helmet we have the Cowled Helm with armor and evasion, and for more we have max life, more accuracy rating, and fire resistance. Then for chest we have the Shrouded Vest with evasion rating, and for more we got even more evasion rating, max life, and chaos resistance. Then for belt we have the double belt with armor, max life, fire, and cold resistance. Then for gloves we got the Plague Finger with evasion and energy shield. And for extras we got increased attack speed, more chance to poison on a hit, and all damage from hits will contribute to our poison magnitude. And these gloves with our weapon are the only items that are 100% required for this build to function properly. Then for boots we're using the Elegant Slippers with the energy shield, and for more we have max life, increased max energy shield, fire, and lightning resistance. Then for our first ring we got the Sapphire Ring with the cold resistance, adds fire and lightning damage to attacks, max mana, and fire resistance. While for the second one we have the Amethyst Ring with the chaos resistance, and for more we got adds fire and cold damage to attacks, more to elemental resistances, and lightning resistance. And then finally for amulet we have the Crimson Amulet with the life regen per second, accuracy rating, max life, more to spirit, and more to all attributes. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is the best case scenario setup, which should be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. So our rotation is quite simple, but you will need to get used to it. Your main goal is to keep spamming Storm Lance until you fully burn through all of your frenzy charges. And once you've depleted them, that's the ideal moment to reapply the Sniper's Mark. If you get the perfect timing, then you will keep the most optimal damage. However, don't stress too much if you end up casting the Storm Lance. An extra time here and there without the frenzy charges active is totally fine and doesn't impact the flow of our rotation that much. A good general rhythm is to aim for about 3 Storm Lance attacks per the Sniper's Mark cast, but for simple trash enemies you can just cast Sniper's Mark, and then the Lightning Spear, and it should kill everything on the screen. And depending on how much attack speed you've stacked, it can even be efficient to simply hold down both Storm Lances and the Sniper's Mark together. Your cooldowns and timing will naturally align well enough to let the gameplay flow smoothly without the constant micromanagement. Then as for Orb of Storms, you will want to drop it right before a boss spawns or when you're in close range combat. It's great for triggering effects and keeping up constant damage in a tight spaces. And don't forget to apply Despair when fighting bosses that aren't currently cursed, as it is a very easy thing to overlook, but it makes it a notable difference in your overall damage output.